right. Well, welcome everyone. We're so excited to have you here today for our program. Again, this is In My Own Words. This is our Survivor series where we invite very special guests to share their personal journeys, either as survivors of the Holocaust or as family members who their family have been through the Holocaust, and then also welcoming other guests from other genocides that have happened throughout our history in the world. And today we're really honored to have Kizito Kalima here as our special guest for today's program. Kizito was born in Rwanda to Dennis and Cecilia Kalima. He is the last born of 10 and comes from a long family tradition of community involvement. His father was an administrator and teacher for local schools, and his mother served as a health advisor to the surrounding community. In 1994, the Kalima family was devastated by genocide, and despite the insurmountable odds stacked against him, Kizito managed to survive. Today, Kizito is the founder and executive director of the Peace Center for Forgiveness and Reconciliation. He is a public speaker and an advocate for other genocide survivors. Kizito has spoken at a variety of schools, churches, community gatherings, and events, and perhaps the most notable and honorable speaking engagement to date occurred in 2014 when Kizito was invited to share his story at the United Nations 20th commemoration of the genocide in Rwanda. We're going to begin today with Kizito sharing his personal story, and we're going to leave time for Q&A near the end of the program. I would ask, just from a housekeeping perspective, we should have everyone muted. If you'll keep your microphones muted throughout the program. Please utilize the chat to introduce yourself, let us know where you're from, and also throughout the program, if questions come to mind for Kizito, please put them in the chat. We will moderate that chat and make sure that we get as many of your questions answered as possible. And so without further ado, let's jump right into our program. And if you'll please help me welcome Kizito Kalima.
Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak to you. As you mentioned, so my name is Kizito Kalima. I go by Z or Big Z. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'9", and I'm sitting down right now, just but I go by Big Z. That's what everybody calls most people, OZ. I was born and grew up in Rwanda. It's a little tiny country in East and Central Africa, and as many of you know, we had the genocide against Tutsi in 1994. So I was a young boy, teenager in high school. And I came, it was during the Easter break. So I came back from the boarding school, and I heard on the radio that a president of the country that time was killed. Growing up in Rwanda from 1990s, it was pretty much, segregated society. So you know where you belong, and coming from the Tutsi minority, we were very segregated. So, and when this president pretty much was killed, and I heard that on the radio, I was kind of excited. Excited not because a human being died, but because of this leader is gone, and I know for sure a lot of things are gonna change. So, and I remember running to my parents' bedroom and tell my mom and say, "Mom, guess what? The evil president is gone." And I was kind of excited as a teenager, but my mom got up and I could see, she was very terrified. She looked at me and she said, "Young man, do not get too excited, because anytime a leader of this country dies, we, meaning the Tutsis, we pay a heavy price." So, as a teenager, I thought my mom was the oldest human being ever. I didn't care. I was like, whatever, mom. In my mind, I was like, you don't understand what's going on, because we grew up with the curfews. We had 2 curfews, and I have 2 curfews: my parents' curfew and the government curfew, and I didn't like it. So, and I felt like, this president being gone, I don't have to deal with the government curfew. So, and I can deal with my mom's curfew. So, and my mom, told us to gather in the living room, and we start telling us what's going to happen, and, because, she has been through a lot. So she has been through a lot of conflict and a lot of civil wars. And I remember telling us, me, my brother, and my sister, and everybody else who was living in our house, to get ready for the outcome, whatever is going to come. And I said, get ready, get, extra jacket, even if you can get it, something to cover you, because, something bad is about to happen. So a couple of days later, I was just sitting at home, and we were on our backyard, in our back porch, and I heard this like a loud noise, people banging and jumping and screaming over our fence. So I turned around, I saw a person with the AK-47. So the soldiers and the police officers had invaded our compound. So, as I grew up as an athlete and everything, if something bad happened or good, I would just run away. So I saw somebody with a gun on top of me, and in my mind, I'm like, you can't catch me. This is it, I'm out. So I just ran because I thought I could overrun a bullet. So I just ran and I jumped over the fence and I went hide across the street. On the other side of our house, there was this banana plantation. There was all the banana trees, and I stayed there for a couple hours. I think our house was attacked around 3 p.m. and I was there until like 7 p.m. when it was getting dark. And but when I was there, this banana trees, I could see my house being blown up. I could see everything's up in smoke. And anybody I knew in our community was who come from the Tutsi family, his or house was being burnt. So, and I knew exactly what my mom was saying. It was true. So I came back a couple hours later, and of course I found everything's everywhere. So my house, I always use the Katrina example. Those who remember how the Louisiana looked like after Katrina, that's how my house looked like. It looked like Katrina just passed through, and there was there's a bullet holes. There's everything was everywhere, and of course I didn't know what to do. So what I decided to do, and I could not find my family, I decided to flee my area or my village. And there was a guy who my dad raised, and he come from different tribe, the Hutu tribe, and I knew for sure if I go to his house, he will take care of me. So he was a brother to me. He's still alive. He's like a brother to me. And I just walked. It's a very far. It was I think 15 to 20 kilometers. So I just walked. And this time I'm just walking through the jungle, the typical African jungle, the one we see on National Geographic channels. So I'm walking because at this moment, the whole highways or other streets was taken over by the killers, and there's no way you can even catch, even if somebody give you a ride or the bus is going, you cannot even get it because, you'll be killed. So I walked from my house to this guy's house, and I didn't get there until like 1 o'clock in the morning. And he was happy to see me. He was excited to see me. And, he said, you can stay here. I'll keep you for a couple, as long as I could, and to see what's going on. So at his house, of course I was hiding, I was staying inside his house. And sometimes I go out outside. And one time somebody saw me at his house and told the killers that I was there. So my dad's name was very popular. My dad was a community leader, was somebody who was very known, and it was always, I do believe it was like, he was always against, injustice. And at that time, they knew my dad who he was, and my family, what my family was. And this guy went and told the killers and the militia leaders and the police, the chief police officer, the mayors of our town that time. He told them that I was there. Therefore, I need to be eliminated. I need to be killed. So they decided that they'll come and burn the building on top of us. So, but among those people who are the killers, or who are the militias that time, was a little brother to this guy who was hiding me. So during that time, you either had to be with them or against them. So this young man was not a killer, but he wanted to belong somewhere. So he doesn't have to be killed. So after he learned that his brother's house is about to be destroyed, he just came back and told his brother that he need to let me go. If not, we all gonna die. So this young man, that time he probably was like 25 or 26 years old. He was, he was raised by my dad. He's like a part of family. So he refused to let me go by myself. And he said, I'm going to take you back to your village or your town, because maybe people there, they still remember you. They remember your dad, and they may spare you. So the issue was between my house and his house was a small river. And this small river was pretty much, to cross the small river, you have to go over the bridge. And this small narrow bridge was taken over by the killers. So if you pass by that bridge, over the bridge, you're gonna get caught and get killed. So he decided that what we're gonna do, we'll just go, we'll go by the bridge. We dodge the bridge and cross the river by foot, because it was a small river. And he said that we can cross it by foot. But it was in the middle of the night, and during the rainy season. So when we got there, we realized that we cannot cross this small river by foot. We need to wait until the sun comes out in the morning. So we wait until like 6 o'clock in the morning, and we cross the river. And so the Rwanda is a hilly mountains country. So the killers have taken over the mountain. They could control whatever's going in the valley. So we were in the valley, and when we crossed the small river, the killers went ahead and set up an ambush in front of us. So we got caught in an ambush, and they were jumping on us. They were hitting us. They were hitting us with all kind of a traditional weapon, the club, the machetes, anything. So whatever they could get that time were just being jumped on. And one of them grabbed something that looked like a baseball bat. So he was about to crash my head. And this guy who was protecting me, he jumped and covered him with his body. So they hit him and they cracked his elbows, and his arm just dropped. So he was pushed away, and I was left alone among these men. It's almost 50 of them. Right? And of course, I was a little skinny, little kid. And at that time, I realized that my life is over. So they decided that they would take me on top of the hill, to finish me off. So as I was going up the hill, I saw a ditch of dead bodies. It was my first time to see somebody dying. And when I saw this ditch of dead bodies, I knew for sure that I'm going to die. And there's nothing else I could do. So I grew up a very prayerful person. I grew up in a Catholic church. So I was doing what I was taught to do. I was, reciting all the prayers my mom taught me. And while I was trying to figure out what was going on, one of the killers, he jumped and he grabbed my shirt like this. He pulled me down, and he grabbed the machete, and he went to hack my head off. So he went, I saw the machete coming, so I got scared, and I just did this. The machete went all the way up here and cracked my little scar open. So I have a big dent here. So of course I passed out. So, and I thought I was dead, and he pushed me, and I was dumped on top in this ditch of dead bodies. And pretty much I was gone. So I was unconscious, and I stayed there for a while. And when I kind of woke up or started waking up, I could see they're still dumping people on top of me. And I remember vividly pushing this guy who had some sort of a maroon sweater. I pushed him, and I got off this ditch of dead bodies, and I walked a little bit, like 50 feet. And I realized I've taken off my shoes, my belt, my jacket. I only had a pair of jeans on, and a short sleeveless shirt. And it was rainy season. So, and I walked at least 50 feet in this rocky mountain, and I got caught again. So they have organized something, we call them butcher houses or slaughterhouses, where they'll take people and pile them up, and later on they'll burn the building or throw a grenade or grenades or bomb there. So they took me to one of the house with the butcher houses, and I got there, found a bunch of my family members, and now I'm back in my area where I grew up. And at night they took us to another killing site. And this time we were lining up. You line up like the way you line up in a cafeteria trying to get your food. And they'll chop your head off, they shoot you, they'll whatever. So, and I'm in the back of the line. I was like, you know what? I know I'm gonna die. At this moment, I knew I was gonna die. There's no way out. I knew I was gonna die. And I was just planning to see how I'm gonna die, painless, with less pain. So in my teenager mind, I said, you know what? If I ran again, somebody's gonna shoot, and I'm gonna die right away. So I decided that to run away again. So, and I was back in my area where I grew up, and I was just running behind that back alleys and all that. And they started shooting and chasing me. Fortunately or unfortunately, they missed me, but they found my aunties, my cousin, and they killed them. And now I'm going back to where I grew up at my house. And of course, to some extent, I was thinking that, you know what, somehow, somewhere, miraculously, everything is back to normal. My family is back. Let me go back to see my mom and my, the rest of my family. But of course, it was just a teenager mind. It was, it was not true. I went back to my house. Nobody was there. And I went to my neighbor. My neighbor said, you cannot stay here because everybody knows your mom and is my friend. And then, they keep coming to check on you guys. So she told me that she thought my family was at the Seventh-day Adventist Church, which was like a mile and a half where I was. And she said, just try to go there and hopefully you'll find your family members. So I just walked. This is the middle of the night. I'm walking and I got to this church. Of course, yeah, I found my family there. And when my mom saw me, the bloody face, I look awful. This like a week into the genocide. I've been, sleeping in the jungle, and just look like a homeless person. And when my mom saw me, she was excited that I was alive, but she was scared and terrified that I'm gonna have everybody getting killed. So they have killed every male in our family, and I was the oldest male left. And I remember my mom told me, said, you cannot stay here because you're gonna have everybody killed. So she encouraged me to find another place to hide. It was a building near the church on the other side of the street, which was still being built. And I went here there, yeah, and I stayed there, I think 3 days, I believe, I don't remember exactly. And when I was there, that is when one day I heard the somebody calling us out, said the war is over, the peace has returned, and we need to come out. And pay attention. I realized it was our former mayor, or there was a mayor of our town that time. I knew him, he was a family friend, and he said, just come out, the war is over, the peace has returned. And of course, I was so tired, I was so hungry, and I remember thinking, you know what? Even if it's a trick, let me just get out there. Maybe somebody can give me a glass of milk. And because I was dying for hunger. I was so hungry. So I got out this hiding and went to this church. Excuse me. And when I got there, he told us to gather in front of the building in the parking lot. So, and he said, he's going to take us to his office, his city council building, if you compare to American system. And he said, come to my office. It's much easier to protect you. It's safer than here. And then, I'm going to have the police officers and the soldiers protect you. And it was another long distance. So, and we were walking in the middle of this journey. He has arranged another butcher house or slaughterhouse. He put us in another killing house, and now they start coming, picking up one by one. And they had this system where they gather people Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. They'll blow up the building, or they'll finish off with the So anyway, one day when we were at this building, we were outside. Most kids. I'm talking about kids, and I saw on the other side of the highway. It was by the main highway, and I saw on the other side of the main highway, on top of the mountain, a long line of vehicles coming, cars full of killers, and they were chanting, they were singing, they were calling out people to saying that the war, the Tutsis are evil, are cockroaches, and the God has given up on them, and they need to be killed. And I came back running inside the building, telling everybody to pretty much to get ready to run away, to fight back, whatever it was. And I remember trying to wake up people, and while I was there trying to wake up everybody, the building was surrounded. And I remember vividly just running through the killers and just running down. As I mentioned, one is a hilly country, top of the hill or the bottom of the hill. So we were on top of the hill, and I was going down the hill. And as we were running, I ran with a bunch of kids. And of course, they chased us, they're shooting. On my left side, there was a kid who got hit. He got shot in the back, and he dropped. The impact of bullet was so loud and so powerful. I felt like I was shot. I remember, falling down, and I was rolling down the hill, and I found myself in the valley trying to crawl inside this tall bush. And while I was inside this bush hiding, after like 30 minutes or 40 minutes, I start feeling like, today's not my day. I'm gonna make it. Trying to relax a little bit, but excuse me. I heard the dogs barking. So in the beginning, I thought it was just a regular dog barking. But these people, they have trained dogs. They have trained dogs to hunt human beings. So the dog came and sniffed me out. And I was caught. I was the time a little arm on my back and put like a pistol here, took me back to the killing site by the main highway. And I remember coming up this mountain, going back to where I was near the highway. And of course, as I said, I was I was dead actually. In my mind, I was gone. It was just a matter of time. So I'm going back to this near this building where everybody was housed, and I got there. I found those cars, those vehicles just brought the killers. Now they're being loaded by my people. So, and the last car was a small red Nissan Datsun. That's a Japanese car. It's like a red neon. They opened the trunk of a car and picked up my mom and put my mom in the trunk, closed it, and drove away. That is the last time I saw my mom. She was taken and killed and dumped in mass grave. And I remember trying to, and I'm surrounded like a 7 grown-ups and with the guns and machete, clubs and all that, traditional weapons. And I remember feeling like I'm a failure, that I never fought for my mom. Up to now, it's something that I struggle with. Driving behind the red car, it's a struggle. And, thinking about my mom, it's just something that it's been almost 20 years, but it's something I struggle with. So anyway, then you have those cars were filled with everybody, and now they don't have a place for me. They don't have a place to put me. And they said, you know what, we'll take you back on second round. You go back inside the killing house. They took me back there, and I found myself, with a bunch of kids, the oldest pretty much. And now I grew up so fast at that moment, I have to make a decision. They put us, all of us there. And at night, I looked through the crack of the window. I saw the killers in front of the building. And I remember telling the kids I was with, I said, man, these people, they're not even gonna shoot us. We are little skinny, sick, kids. They're gonna just come and have fun killing us. Let's get out. So I opened the back door and we took off. At night, almost like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and now we went different ways. Everybody went different ways. I'm running now, barefooted, cold, and I found myself in the swamps, in the marshlands. So I came to going. It was this swampy, muddy place. It was an awful place to be. But in the middle of these swamps, I found a dry, high ground, and I found a place to sit. So I stayed there almost in the middle of it was like in the middle of April until like late June, if I remember well. So all this time, I'm in the swamps, inside the swamps. I'm just living like wild animals. And I remember in the beginning, I was just eating grass, drink this this greasy, swampy, look like sewage water. I'll just scoop it up and just drink it. And I got to the point where my body started giving up. I became so sick. I became like a skeleton, skinny. I lost vision. I lost my hearing. And, one day, everything got quiet, like extremely quiet, like a horror movie quiet. Now, I'm just thinking to myself, I say, you know what? I think I'm the last person in this world left, because I think that killed everybody. And now I'm the only person left. So because over these months and weeks, what I used to hear was bomb, bullets, grenades, people shouting, yelling. It was a full-blown conflict. And now this day, nobody's shouting, nobody's yelling, or there's no guns or bullets flying. So, but I didn't know that on the other side of Rwanda, I grew up in the southern part of Rwanda, but on the northern part of Rwanda, there was a group of rebels and other Rwandans who have decided to join force together and fought to stop the genocide, because the whole world have, left us, and, pretty much it was up to us to stop these killings. They have captured the area where I was, and they have continued to fight. So they rescued one of my family member, and he told them that a bunch of kids have fled towards those swamps, and they came back after, I guess, a week or 2 weeks later, and they stamped on me. I was pretty much my last breath. I remember them taking us to this makeshift clinic, tried to put me an IV drip, feed me, and a couple of days later, I came back. But I started regretting why I survived. But now that's how I learned the reality about me being 100% orphan. I don't have anybody to take care of me. My house is destroyed. My family is gone. So now that's how I start facing the reality. And I remember these rebel groups, they called RPF, Rwanda Patriotic Front that time. They have became everything. They became, soldiers, police officers, nurses, doctors, counselors, housing. They would do anything to make sure that a bunch of all of us traumatized kids, at least we have some sort of normalcy that time. And they put us in, the refugee camp, internal displaced refugee camps, group homes, orphanage. And of course, from July 1994 to almost the end of 1995, I was bouncing around from different, homes and system. So 1995, on November 1995, I was on the verge of mental breakdown, trying to commit suicide a couple of times. I failed, and now I decided to leave the country. I said, you know what? I cannot stay in Rwanda no more. Rwanda to me smells like a death. Everything was just smells like a death. Everything just reminds me the dead bodies, the swamps, the machetes, everything. So I said, let me figure out how I can get out of the country, and I was able to leave. I think in the beginning of 1996, January 1996, I decided to leave the country. So I went to different countries. I went to what we call East Africa now. I went to Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, came back to Kenya and Uganda. So all those years when I was in East Africa, the only thing I could do, it was just playing sports. I grew up as an athlete playing every sports, and I didn't know that I was suffering from anxiety and depression. Later on I found out I was diagnosed with PTSD. By that time, I thought I was just being crazy, but I could not sleep. I could not, I was angry and upset, but the only thing I could find out it could help me, it was just get involved in sports. So my body doesn't do well with drug, alcohol, whatever it is. I never touch, but I want something to help me deal with my anxiety and my depression that time. So while I was playing sports in East Africa, of course, I was like a 6'6", and almost, still a teenager. And somebody saw me and offered me a scholarship and offered me a place to play for his club. It's, in Africa, we do have it's like a semi, but as a kid, they will help you to go to school. So they helped me to go to school. I was in Kenya. They took me to Uganda. And when I was in Uganda, that's why I started receiving letters and calls from the coaches and teachers in schools here in America to play basketball. And I remember, I could not even speak English that time. I had a friend who was translating and helping me. And I remember one day I went for practice, and I found a letter from from Savannah, Georgia, actually said that you've been selected to participate in this basketball tournament in Savannah, Georgia, the Armstrong College, and just pretty much bring whatever the requirements they needed. And I could not believe what just happened, because all these years, this is like a 1997, in the beginning of the late 1997, beginning of 1998. So all these 4 years, I've been pretty much living on my edge, not knowing what's going to happen, bouncing around from one place to another. But now, in my mind, I just felt like, what? This is my opportunity to find a stable place to stay, a safe country to live in. And, it was just amazing. It was amazing feelings that time. And of course, it was hard to find the requirements because I was there by myself. But the owner of the team and the coach, slash the coach that time, he helped me, and I found myself, in July of 1998, boarding the British Airways, coming to Savannah, Georgia for tryouts in the for basketball schools and colleges. And I remember just, I was in disbelief. I was like, is this really happening? I'm going to America. I'm going to play basketball. Somebody's taking care of me, because, I have lost trust in grown-ups, because, to me, I felt like the grown-ups, the adults failed us, but this guy took care of me and sent me here. And I remember coming through Atlanta airport, going to Savannah, Georgia. And, after the tournament, I was offered a scholarship to join the high school in Chicago, to finish high school, because I haven't finished high school. I went to Providence CML in Chicago, finished high school, and then ended up going to Indiana University in South Bend. When I was in practice, I ruptured my Achilles tendon. So, and after I ruptured my Achilles tendon, I fell into deep depression. like the way I was after the genocide, because I didn't know that all these years, this is almost 10 years, I didn't know that a basketball or sports was the only medicine could help with my anxiety and depression. And I've been diagnosed with everything. Those who are familiar with the book called DSM, it's I always tell people that that book can be named after me because I got it, most everything out there. So, but this time now, my anxiety kicked in. My depression came back because I could not exercise or practice to sleep. That was my addiction. I would play sports. I was working at the gym, at the school gym. I would lift weight. I did what I could to make sure that I had access to the gym, and I made sure I got like 2 or 3 jobs and go to school. So I remember I used to leave my house at 6 o'clock. 10 o'clock in the morning. I'll come back next day at 6 in the morning. So I'd made sure that I was not lonely, I was not busy, so I don't have to think about what I went through. But when I lost this ability to play sports, and I fell back into depression, anxiety, and I remember one day I was coming back from school and work. I was driving to my old apartment, and I started shaking, and I just shaking. I blacked out. I almost crashed. I was able to park somewhere. And I could not believe what was going on. And now the migraine headache just kicked in, and I was able to get to my apartment complex. The next day, I went to see our school nurse, and she asked me a bunch of questions. And she asked me if I've ever been in any catastrophic event, and I said, "Yeah." And I didn't understand the word catastrophic. And she gave me an example. She was like a big car accident, like a shooting, whatever, shootout. And I said, I was in Rwanda during the genocide. Just casual. That to me was not a big deal. And I remember I could see her face. She was like, "Oh my goodness, are you serious?" I said, "Yes." I was there, and I kind of told her what it was, and she was like, "Oh, She started encouraging me. She's like, "Have you ever been through therapy?" I said, "I tried and I did." And the only thing I had never done that time, it was sharing my story, because I was ashamed of it. I was ashamed of my background, and at that time, because living in the swamps, my toenail got infected, and it was always falling off. My feet was always smelling so bad. The infection, it lasts forever. Actually, I got treated like 2012 or 13. So anyway, this time I just want to be a cool basketball kid from Africa. That's it. Don't ask me anything else. But I realize now I'm facing the dilemma that my life will be hard without sports. And she encouraged me to share my story and to reach out to professionals. And I realized, you know what, I need to do something. So I started asking the teachers if I can share my story. And anytime we had some sort of international student organization events, I would do it. And one time I remember I spoke, and after I spoke, I felt like somebody just lifted a big tumor, out of my brain. I felt like almost like a 50 pound of something heavy just came out of my body. And I remember went back and just lay down crying, but I felt better that time. I said, you know what? I think it's, this is what I needed. And from that time, I started sharing my story slowly, the way I could, slowly. And I was finishing school. I was getting ready to be an adult, and now I'm like, okay, I'm about to face the reality. But what am I gonna do? What am I gonna live without being around sports and and all this? So, and I started Googling. Honestly, I started Googling. I started searching because I felt like I'm not the only one who went through all atrocities, and I felt like there was somebody out there who went through maybe worse than me, but I was able to make an impact in the society. To me, I was like, you know what? If I can at least feel better about myself and be able to manage all this, maybe that's what I needed. That's what I needed. So I started Googling. I remember Googling Nelson Mandela, Dr. King, Gandhi, Mother Teresa, and everybody. What they had in common, it was forgiveness. And in my mind, I'm like, you guys lost your mind, man. How am I going to forgive somebody who killed my parents, who abused my family, who almost chopped my hair off? I was not having it, but I kept learning. And I ended up finding somebody called Eva Cole, the Holocaust survivor, and she was living in Terre Haute, which is in Indiana. And I was like, oh, she's in the same state where I was. I think I can drive and go see her and see, learn from her if she gave me a chance. So and I started learning about, I started learning about the, excuse me. I started learning about this, this forgiveness word, and it didn't work well with me in the beginning. I didn't want it. I didn't want to hear that because I majored in criminal justice. I wanted to be a lawyer, a judge, and one day go to Rwanda, become something just in charge of the prison, and at least blow up one of the main prison. That was my mind. That was the whole thing. How I was going to deal with my genocide. But as I'm growing up, I realized, I'm blessed enough to be here. I'm blessed enough to be in the position where I was because all my friends don't have what they had. And I started learning about this word forgiveness. And growing up in a very religious family, to me, it sounds like the way I was taught about, faith. And I realized that forgiveness is just for me, not everybody else. I don't even have to tell anyone. I just need to let it go so I can live my life. So that's what I did. So I started, practicing, forgiveness. It was hard. It was crazy. And I remember it took me almost until like 2009. This was 2004, 2009. So almost 5 years, but I made sure that I learned about all this. So when I was learning and trying to let it go, somebody new was born inside me. I was not angry no more. I was not selfish. That's I want to be helped. So the true Kizito Kalima came back. The guy, the person I was meant to be, and I started reaching out to a bunch of kids. Especially those who went through what I went through. I became their mentor. I helped them. I guided them. I said, man, of course, I was rejected by many of them, but among those kids, I was helping. I ended up adopting two of them. They became, because they went through what I went through, but they were too young and they needed a place to be. And so from there, things start turning into, I would say, like a calling or mission. Because every time I'm doing something positive, I feel good about myself. I ended up opening up the center. Peace Center for Forgiveness, Reconciliation. Help a lot of immigrants, refugees. As I mentioned, my background is criminal justice. I worked in criminal justice for so long, almost 10 years. Social criminal justice and social services. I was familiar with everything around my city, and I became this person who became like a refuge for other refugees and immigrants. And I started feeling better. My migraine headaches went down. Everything was just, I was smiling. I was good. It was just something miracle that I cannot even share. I started being called to speak to different schools. Right now, I lost counts of speeches I've given. I don't know. I count until to like I think 100 something, 180, and I lost it right now. I lost counts. So, but it became a mission to me and a calling that until like 2016, actually, January 2016, I left my government job and started working for my organization full time. So for the last 6 years, I've been doing public speaking, genocide awareness education. In my office, we have a small museum, like a small genocide pictures displays where the kids come from different schools. We're not kids, even the universities and the other organization came to learn about the genocide. Of course, the genocide is always connected with the Holocaust and other atrocities, and it became something very positive to me and to the society, the community. And we cannot just teach about the genocide and the other atrocities. We have to help those who've been through the genocide and other atrocities. So we came up with the after-school programs. We have a bunch of kids, from different countries who come to our office. Before COVID, they used to come at least 2 or 3 times a week for any help, And I realized that, working with the kids, you cannot just tell them to do homework and study or learn whatever. You have to have some fun, some activities. So we use sports, music, poetry, and kids dances. We have a very professional, I would say, very organized dancing group. They go around, dance, they sing. Me coming from as a former basketball player, I partner with the police state. One of the police station here. The people I knew we used to work with, they let me use their state, their buildings to coach basketball. So, and of course, I help the parents, these kids' parents, to find jobs, housing, healthcare, and I teach them English. do a lot of, driver ed classes. So it became something that I never thought it would be. But everything to me, I feel like, you know, I survived for a reason. I used to think I survived because of my two adopted girls, but I realized that I survived for the community. I survived for the world. And it's something that I enjoy to do it. I don't get tired to do it. As I mentioned before, I think I told Lauren, I said I don't have no schedule. I'm open 24/7 because I know I'm blessed enough that are, to the point where I cannot even explain to people. Because what I went through, what I, what I what I have to face as teenagers, the young age, live in different places by myself, learning different languages. Like right now, I speak 5 languages fluently, and I can understand 7 of them. It, I don't. I'm not a genius. I always tell people I learned to speak different languages because I was hungry. I needed to eat, so I wanted to ask food, and I just had to come up with a genius way to, I had to be eloquent to get free food. So anyway, that is how I ended up doing what I'm doing right now. It's just like I ended up, writing books. I have one book called My Forgiveness, My Justice, because to me, there's no justice enough for a victim, any victim. As I said, I work in criminal justice. I never seen a judge sentencing or focusing on the victim. Even if you go there, there's like, oh, I'm sorry, this will happen to you. Please, get a help. But I never seen a judge who appoint a case worker or even a police officer to follow up with the victim. But they do to perpetrators. I remember we used to send people in prison, and we make sure they go through rehab. If they have they have a drug addiction, they go through whatever it is. And to me, I remember one day sitting there, it was about, a case that I always, close to my heart. And I realized, I said, man, this young person is 16 years old. The abuser or the perpetrator is 22, 23. He's given 10 years with a good, he can go there and serve 5 if he's a good person. And by the time he comes back, he'll be at least less than 30. And this person will be at least, 20, 21. And this young lady going to live with the scar for the rest of her life. And this perpetrator, this criminal, going to live free life because he served his time. And the society, we do blame the victims, because if you're a victim of any atrocities and your abuser or your perpetrator has been sentenced to certain time, whatever it is, and you're trying to complain, they say, be quiet. He served or she served her time. Move on with your life. But that's not how it works. So that's what I say. You know what? There's nothing I cannot. There's nothing else I can do. There's no justice enough that I can hand to myself other than forgiving and letting people, let this go so I can live my life. And it has served me well. I even got a courage to travel to Rwanda to forgive the guy who hacked with machete face to face. I met him in a prison in the middle nowhere in Rwanda. And I talked to him. I said he could not believe I was alive. And he remembered me as a young boy, but when he saw me and I told him who I was, he started telling me the whole story without even asking. To me, I thought I was watching a movie. He remembered everything he has done to the point where he said, I remember taking your belt from you. And I said, man, it's been 27 years. You remember that even took the belt? I said, wow. So, but it's something good, to me, it has helped me. It has at least healed me. Now, I'm not healed 100%, but I'm able to manage my stress. I'm able to manage my genocide stories. It doesn't own me. I own right now. You cannot tell me, there's nothing. I even have a saying that if it's not genocide, it's nothing. There's nothing can pull me down, because I know there's nothing worse than a genocide. So, and I always ask people that, whatever you go through, just try to, to take care of yourself, do the best you can. If you have to seek a professional help, if you want to join a faith-based organization, anything that will help you positively, it is good for you because you you being good will being able to take care of yourself. You are going to take care of other people. So, and this world needs a lot of people because we create conflict. We create wars, a genocide, a Holocaust, and other type of atrocities. If we are the inventors or the creator of those craziness or this atrocities, I know for sure we can stop it. We can stop it. We spend a lot of money building weapons and nuclear bombs, whatever it is. But I do believe that we can create other positive ways. Peace centers, schools. Because how many bullets and gun you need to kill one person? Why do we have all these weapon factories work 24/7? For what reason? That's my question to me, because I'm the victim of all this this craziness that where the weapons were handed over like candies, where somebody could get access to machete. Like, I don't know, Rwanda, my country, doesn't have any bullets or any gun manufacturing company. But we were the biggest consumer at that time. We didn't have a factory where we make machetes or other weapons, but we were the biggest consumers at the time. To me, I feel like everybody has to play his or her own role and understand exactly that whatever we do is going to affect us, in negative ways. We need, or positive ways. We need to learn how to live as a human being and love each other, regardless of our background, race, whatever it is, religion, because at the end of the day, we all suffer. The guy who tried to chop my head off, he has spent, for the last 27 years, he's been in prison. His house, his family left him because no one wants to be associated with no one wants to be associated with the genocide. I passed by his house. It's ruins. It's because nobody lived there, and just it's no longer there. And my house was destroyed. It's ruins. I've been gone for 20-some years. I left Rwanda in 1996. And I told him, I said, man, you lost your adulthood and I lost my childhood. So both of us, we lost. So none of us won. And that's what I would tell people that are during the conflict, during the war, even the hatred, nobody wins. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you so much, Kizito. Wow, what an incredible story, and really appreciate your willingness to join us today and to share your story. It's in many ways unfathomable. Sorry.
Thank you.
It's I don't know if anyone else is having the same reaction that I am, but it's remarkable to think what you went through and what you had to overcome. And one of the questions, there's a couple of questions in the chat, so we'll get to those for sure. But one of the questions, and I think you answered it to a degree, right, was is that struggle. How do you I think it's probably a very personable thing for someone who has gone through a traumatic experience, whether or not they choose to forgive, correct? I think that's something that we hear a lot when we talk about the Holocaust and survivors of the Holocaust, how some choose to forgive and others do not, but you talk so much about how that decision for you personally freed you and allowed you to remove that weight. So again, I really appreciate you, sharing your story. I want to get to a couple of the questions in the chat, since we still have about 10 minutes with you. One of the questions, or I'm sorry, just a couple of the comments in case you missed them, or there was a question, says, what gave you the ability and courage to share your story now? Most Holocaust survivors never spoke of their journeys. You touched a little bit on that, but is there other encouragement that maybe you could offer to someone who has gone through a traumatic experience, to even consider as they're trying to figure out their own forgiveness journey?
So the one thing just kind of pushed me to share my story and to forgive. It's for the health reason. I start having migraine headaches, and I start having this like I would sit and just sweat in a classroom. When I'm playing basketball, I remember people pass the ball and they'll go through my hands. And of course, coach would yell at me and I would use powder, whatever it is, but I could not, I was sweating to the point where I didn't know what it was, So that was the extreme anxiety. Later on I learned it was extreme anxiety, but I didn't know what was going on in my mind. And that the migraine headaches, if you ever had a migraine headaches, that's the worst thing 5 days a week or even sometime every single day. So, and when I met with the professionals, they said, the best way to do it, just share your story and do this. And another thing, kind of pushed me to do also, I'm very sensitive to any chemical induced thing. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I never, even if, I cannot, even if I take the headache medicine, I'm like a zombie, I ruptured my Achilles tendon, I had a surgery, and they gave me this those heavy painkillers. I could not take it. I just went through the pain because the side effects of the medicine was worse than me dealing with the stitches. So, and that is one thing, I would say, pushed me to do this for the health reason, because I was getting sick, because I had this internal conflict. I don't know what to do with. And when I start sharing the story, I could feel like, oh, it's going. I remember talking to one of the mental health professionals, say that, you know what, your brain is like a muscle, and say, you remember how when you twist your ankle, they tell you to elevate and not put too much pressure on it? I say, yes. And I understand that, the sports injuries. And she said, exactly. Your brain is like a muscle, and you put too much pressure on it, and that's how you're having this, blurred vision all the time, and this migraine headache. So, and that's why I started sharing my story, and that's how I learned about forgiveness. And on the other side, to me, as I said, I'm a very I don't know if it's the word faithful person. So, I believe in Almighty. I believe in high power. I believe in something, divine or whatever, if that's the word. So, and now I said that, you know what, there's a reason why I survived. So why do I have to stay here angry and upset when I know God gave me second chance? And I remember one of my friends said that one of my mentor, he said that he asked me that if I work at the job and I'm given my regular salary and I'm given a bonus, so what am I going to do with the bonus? Am I going to invest it back into me or invest in a society, or just I'm going to blow it up and just have fun? And I said, I think I'm going to invest it so it can help me. He was like, the same thing with your story, man. God gave you a second chance. So you can use your second chance, the bonus. You can do whatever you want to do with it, but I know for sure that if you invest back in the community and society, it will benefit a lot of people. So that's the why I forgive. That's why I share my story.
Thank you. One of the questions was asked, sorry, I'm trying to go back to see who asked the question. Alex was asking if you would describe your first interaction with meeting Ava Core. Here's someone who also survived a terrible event in life, but would love to know. It sounds like there's a story there.
I reached out to her through email. And she, of course, her executive director, Keel, he's pretty much my age. So he was a young man that time. And he replied back and said, Eva said you just come during her lectures on Saturdays, which was from 1 to 4. And I drove to Terre Haute. And when I got there, we met. Eva was like a 4'11". I'm 6'9". And she's like in her 70s or 80s. I'm like in 30. So it was just like it was extremely opposite. And the first thing she saw me, of course, she was a little feisty. I'll never for that. She started talking and she was excited to see me. And the first thing she said, she put up the chair, put it by herself, and she said, "Young man, come here, tell your story." I was like, okay, I just came here to hear you, to listen to you. I didn't come to talk. So, but she gave me the courage, the boost, because I just learned that she went through what I went through. And from that day until she passed away, even right now, with her museum and her, her family, we became a family. She became a pioneer. She became, a mother figure to me. And one time we had this event called a genocide prevention conference. And one of the people who I spoke, at that time I was still working in the government. I didn't even have my organization, but one of the people asked me my business card. And I said, I don't have it. Eva call went off for me. She said, why don't, it was just funny because to me, it was like a mother, son, she didn't really care. She was like, you need to get your story together. You need to get a business card because if you don't tell your story, somebody's going to tell it and they're going to tell the wrong way. It's not going to help. And from that time, I get my stuff. She said, you need to get your stuff together. And that's what I did. So I get my stuff together. I remember she would send Keel, her executive director, to mentor me. She told me pretty much she's the reason I'm gonna do what I'm doing. I'll say that because she gave me courage. I remember one time she said, I started sharing my story when I was in my 60s. At that time, I was like a 30-some years old. You're too young. You're very charismatic. You're very, people, and you can reach out to different, audience. So please go ahead and just do it. And to me, I was like, you know what? I was very close to my mom. I was mama's boy. I'm the last born. And I saw my mom talking through Eva. And I listened to her. Whatever she said, I would do. I never argued with her. I never. So, and unfortunately, she passed away, and I went to her funeral. It was just sad because I felt like I lost, a big part of me. But I still have a relationship with her museum and even her son. But she is big. She's my pioneer. She's my role model. She's everything to me. She's the one who got me what I am right now.
Thank you. What an incredible story. And we've heard stories of Ava and her impact and what a tremendous, big world, small world, right? The connections that we form. I have just two final questions. There was one question in the chat that was just asking about your feelings on the world's seeming lack of action and help to stop genocides around the world. Do you have any thoughts on what we're doing or not doing as far as helping others in our world who might be facing genocide or other acts of atrocity?
So I do feel that there is lack of understanding, and there's a lack of I know there's a lot of people want to help, but they don't understand how and when and where to go. And at the same time, on the other side, everything is a business. There's the people who are benefiting in a conflict. So, and unfortunately, those who are benefiting from the conflict are the people who had power, who has power, have power. So they always make hard for people who wants to help. So, but I always encourage people that do the best you can. If you can use the platform, the social media, to call out something injustice, just go ahead and do it. Because, we all kind of play a small part. I tried the best I can, and it got to the point where I realized that, I can speak to 1,000 people, in one day. And that 1,000 people, if you can, I know for sure they have family members. At least if I spoke to 1,000 people, I know at least 5,000 people will know what's going on. I think that's how we can get involved in these atrocities and other injustices going on all over the world. But sitting down not doing anything, it doesn't help, And the sitting, I say that the government or the leaders of this can, will do it. It will never happen. Do the best you can at your part and help the organization, who are getting involved. Just play your position and play your part. And I think we can make a big change in the world.
Thank you for that. Well, we are just again supremely honored that you shared the last hour with us. And there were so many comments in the chat just thanking you for your willingness to share and admiring your courage and your tenacity and all that you're doing now through your organization. I put a link in the chat to your website, choosetoforgive.org, if you'd like to learn more. I know you said you have your book out. Is there a place where they can find your book? It's My Forgiveness, My Justice.
Yeah, it's under our website. Actually, you can go
Perfect.
to you can go to our website and go under Kizito's book. And of course, I have another book coming out actually. in this, hopefully in the March, it's called Intervention Divine.
Oh, wow.
I always, it's, pretty much angels are met on my way, because I'm here because people like Eva Cole. I'm here because other people, it was just not, there's a people who helped me to get here, regardless what happened, I always look at the positive side of my life. I don't want to, there's people who took advantage of me, but I want to highlight those who did good, because those negative people, those evil people, I know, it's, I forgive them. It's between them and God, and I have to celebrate, and I have to, pretty much cherish and, say thank you to those people who helped me. That's why I say intervention divine, because these people intervened when I needed them. I don't know where they came from. So it's going to come out soon, this year for sure, but not sure, but it's going to be this year.
Well, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. And we're honored that all of you chose to spend your lunch hour with us. For those who are enjoying lunch, again, we really appreciate your support. We are able to provide these programs free of charge to our patrons. Our museum is free to visit if you're ever in the Maitland, Orlando area. We hope that you'll come visit our museum. We're also building a brand new museum called the Holocaust Museum for Hope and Humanity, which we hope will open in a few years. So we appreciate your support of our mission and our vision. We appreciate you tuning in to hear Kizito's story. Kizito, thank you again. If you are interested in learning more about our organization, if you'd like to see Kizito's, if you need to share this link because somebody missed this great conversation, you can share the recording, which will be up in the next 24 to 48 hours on our Holocaust Center website. I encourage you to share that and listen back. There were so many great moments from this conversation, Kizito. Thank you. Our mission is to help folks understand that we have to take these lessons from the Holocaust and never forget, right? And hopefully never repeat. So the more that we can do to educate our younger generations, educate ourselves is all that more important. So thank you again for being here. Thank you everyone for watching. We hope you have a wonderful day, that you'll join us for another program soon. Our next program is actually next Thursday, February 17th. It is in person or hybrid, so feel free to join us. If you're not in the area, you can join us online. That'll be a conversation called Uprooting Prejudice, conversation with Pardeep and Arno. Pardeep, his father was a member of the Sikh community who was killed in a mass shooting a couple of years ago. And after that traumatic incident, he went his own way for looking for forgiveness. And actually connected with Arno, who is a former white supremacist who now runs an organization called Life After Hate. So many similarities of how do we go through and understand these hateful and traumatic events, and how can we overcome and how can we learn from them. February 17th, hope that you'll come back and join us either in person if you're local or virtually if you're not. And thank you again. Thank you, Kizito. I think everyone's giving you mad props in the chat. So
Thank you.
We really appreciate it. I know you've got snowstorms up there, so stay warm and stay safe. And thank you everybody for joining us. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye.
Thank you.